Morning. And how are you this morning? All good, I hope. Fighting fit and raring to go. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Ready for the day ahead. It's just gone 2 minutes past 8 in the AM, Greenwich Mean Time. On Wednesday, the 4th of February, in the year of our Lord, 2026. I am, as always, joined by Harry, my producer. How are you this morning, sir?
Morning. Yeah, I'm good.
Good, yeah, that didn't come through.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Hi.
You all good? We all good? We all ready to go? Ready to rock and roll? You are the glorious band, the chosen few. Thank you for tuning in. Really, genuinely, thank you. Without you, it's not a thing, is it? It's just me waffling into the void without you guys. So thank you. Thank you for joining me. It's Breakfast with Beau. Breakfast with Beau. Colloquially known as the Beau Show. A.K.A. Beau's Breakfast Club. All right, let's just straight in. What is the world talking about this morning? What does the corporate legacy mainstream media think you need to know about this morning? The cabal of evil editors that run the print media. So let's have a look at the front of the papers. Oh, okay, right. So it really is wall-to-wall Mandy today. I mean, we had a lot of Mandy yesterday, didn't we? We had a lot of Mandy yesterday. Well, it's even more, if anything. It's just Mandy and Andrew on the papers, in the British papers anyway. So what I'm going to do today, I think, is not spend a good half the show talking about, because we did most of it yesterday. There's a few data points, there's a few little things here and there that are new, that of course we'll talk about, and I'll talk about, and we'll have a look at. A couple of new bits and bobs, but there's not like vast things have changed. So I'm not going to spend, 30, 40 minutes on it, hopefully. I'll maybe actually today have a look at some bit more detail about some of the other countries and things around the world. All right, so let's jump straight into it. First thing to mention, though, I would say, is still nothing about the crux of the matter. The really important salient thing about Epstein and who he is and who his handlers were and his connections to all sorts of other people beyond Mandelson and Andrew. Beyond, like, Bill Clinton and Bill Gates. Like, these people essentially don't matter all that much, at least in comparison to some of the other people he was in contact with. Setting up people all around the world with the Rothschilds. His connection to Ehud Barak, I believe I talked all about on Monday. The Israeli intelligence services. None of that. No. The cabal of evil editors are not interested in any of that, telling you about any of that. They don't really want normies to know. They'd rather normies just never heard of it. Obviously. Because the thing is, it is actually the most interesting, most salacious thing. If they were genuinely interested in either the truth or getting the most possible clicks, you'd think they'd do that. But no, just look at Mandelson in his pants again. I feel like, actually, so much so, they're lying by omission so much for the second day in a row, or arguably third day in a row, or arguably months worth of days in a row, that they're just sort of not exactly on a meltdown, but they're like, what can we do? Anything rather than talk about it. I mean, some of the papers trying to paint Epstein as a Russian spy. Mad. All right, anyway, let's get into the papers. So on the BBC website, which shows us the front pages of a lot of them, they put the Star first. Usually it's last, but today they've put it first. Cops probe Mandelson and Princes of Darkness. Obviously, a reference to Mandy was known as the Prince of Darkness, and Prince Andrew was, in fact, a prince. So Princes of Darkness. All right, cops probe Mandelson. So that's the first biggest story, is that the cops have formally, it seems, opened an actual investigation into the Lord Mandelson, which there was rumblings. There was rumblings yesterday, but now it's real. It's happened. So the question is whether they're going to open an investigation into Andrew as well. Finally, why it takes. These allegations have been around, or the older ones, the Guthrie ones, have been around for years. So, all right. So the Daily Star, it really is wall-to-wall Mandelson. I mean, literally and exactly every single paper goes with the front page of it. So let's whip through it relatively quickly. So the Daily Star there, cops probe Mandelson. You've let your pants down. You've let your country down. bit like you've let your parents down, you've let your country down, you've let your school down, you've let your teacher down, you let yourself down. You've let your pants down, you've let your country down. Okay. There's Emily Atack, who used to be a little bit tubby, and now she's not. She used to be ever so slightly heavy, and now she's not. There you go, front page. Let's read the blurb real quick. Blurb. All the papers lead with the police investigation into Lord Peter Mandelson and former Prince Andrew's relocation to the Royal Lodge. Oh yeah, where they'd moved Andrew out of like the main palaces, moved into a quote-unquote lodge, still a massive property, still a giant mansion. Not much smaller than a... Well, anyway, he was living on the Royal Lodge, I think still on the Sandringham estate, and he was due to be moved out of there anyway. Well, they whisked him out of there in the middle of the night last night. Just get rid of him. Don't want him to be seen in public. Okay, so he's relocated from the Royal Lodge, all flowing from the fallout of the Epstein files investigation. Cops probe Mandelson is the Daily Star's headline. Noting it comes, quote, hours after he quit the Lord, quote. Oh, yes, that's the other thing. That's the other main data point, really. That's the other sort of real change in the news, any real significant one, is that Mandelson has resigned his position in the Lords. I believe, I might be getting this wrong, but I believe he's still legally, formally the Lord Mandelson, first Baron Mandelson, and Parliament will have to shuffle some papers around in order to strip him properly, formally, legally of that. However, in the first instance, he has actually resigned all his duties, if you like, all his responsibilities as a lord. And, I mean, I think I said yesterday, I'm pretty sure I said yesterday, that I thought that was highly unlikely. I think I said that could happen, who knows, but it's highly unlikely, I think is what I said. So there you go, I was wrong. Well, I did think that at the time, but obviously not that unlikely, he did do it. There must have been pressure. You can only really imagine the pressure behind the scenes. All sorts of people from number 10 on down saying, you've got to, do it. For the party. For the good of the party. Please, maybe even begging him, please stand down from the Lords. Like today, because it happened yesterday, did it yesterday? There was like a whole thing in the Lords yesterday where the reader reads out, well, the Lord Mandelson, as of today, as of tomorrow, i.e. today, has resigned his position as... So, yeah. So he did. He was gracious enough to do that. He really is stuck between a rock and a hard place, isn't he? In the lead up to Lord Mandelson's resignation, the Prime Minister said... had said he would change the law to boot him out. The papers report. The BBC has contacted Lord Mandelson for comment and understands that his position is that he denies engaging in criminal behaviour. Classic thing. He's obviously being coached by his lawyers. I mean, you would be, wouldn't you? And the lawyers have said, "This is what you say. This is the exact words you say, Peter. I deny engaging in criminal behaviour, and don't say anything else." Don't go and give an interview to Trevor Phillips, one of your best mates, Trevor Phillips. He was best man at Trevor Phillips' wedding. Trevor Phillips. Just say, I deny engaging in criminal behaviour, and don't say another word. Damage control, full-blown damage control out of the Mandelson camp. Right, the FT, the Financial Times. Moon gaze. Musk ties XAI to rocket drive. Okay, yeah, because he's moved his AI business under the wing, as I mentioned yesterday, didn't I, of SpaceX. Because apparently, obviously, makes the calculation he thinks he needs it to boost research and development in SpaceX. There you go. Oh, one quick thing to say about this before we move on and talk a bit more about Mandy and other things. There's a story which isn't on any of the front pages, and it's not even high up on any of the websites when we look at this. But I think it's quite a big story, and if you're on Twitter, you probably saw it. But here's a story. Let's move to... I had to open a completely new tab. How about that? I had to get Harry to do it. Here we go. Bring that up, Harry. There you go. French investigators raid Paris offices of Elon Musk's X. Prosecutors said they had summoned him, the platform's billionaire owner, to come for questioning. So, story is, basically, yesterday, in France, in Paris, the French went a bit berserk on X. They physically raided the building, like accusing them of all sorts of cybercrime and stuff. So the old thing that's been knocking around the news cycle for a while now is that grok is dangerous. That grok steals, does illegal things. That it makes sexually explicit images of people. It doesn't. It can put people in a bikini, but beyond that, it doesn't. It can't make like actual, pornographic images or anything. Nonetheless, they're saying that grok's a worry, like a criminal thing. X is sort of a criminal thing because of grok's image generating facility. There's loads and loads of AI programs that can do that. You can do it yourself in Photoshop, can't you? If you really wanted to, you could take old school photographs, cut them out with a pair of scissors, stick them with Pritt stick on another bit of card, and then take an old school photograph of that. Could do that, right? You can't stop people from tampering with images. Anyway, it seems to me pretty obvious that it's just they hate that X isn't completely under their control in terms of freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Even though you can't say anything you want on X, anyone that's on X will know. Certain things you say, you just immediately comes up, this tweet is restricted, or you're on a ban as of this moment. Take the tweet down, otherwise you're banned. Or sometimes just ban you, that's outright. So you can't say anything on Twitter, not even close actually. There's certain words, you might have noticed, that you say that aren't even swear words, or aren't even, in my opinion, all that offensive. But if you say them, like a word beginning with F, which is also a type of Scottish meatball. Can't say that on Twitter, you'll get in trouble. You'll be banned and stuff. So you can't say anything you like on Twitter at all. However, even so, the French is too much for them. And also, yesterday, the same day, in a coordinated attack, there was some sort of more rumblings came out of Whitehall in Britain that they want to do more against X, stop it in its tracks, and the dangerous grok thing. And also in California, there weren't raids on X buildings in California or Britain. Nonetheless, they pushed forward with more and more stuff in a coordinated way, all at one time yesterday. And very, very, very little of that you'll see nothing on the front pages of the papers, and very, very little on the mainstream websites as well. They're going after X and pretending it's about grok and it's dangerous for children. Nonsense. Just nonsense, isn't it? There you go. It's all about freedom of speech. That Elon allows a limited amount of freedom of speech and expression. They hate it. All right, let's go back to the papers. Back to Mandy. Met launches criminal inquiry into Mandelson's dealing with Epstein. Yeah, ex-minister quits Lords. That's Mandy, quits Lords. Sensitive details passed to sex offender. Yeah. Starmer calls actions disgraceful. Well, you appointed him, mate. What do you mean? Like you didn't know that it was disgraceful? You must have. In fact, you were told. That's one of the things we might get to later, is that Kemi Badenoch and others are saying, we want to know exactly what you were told, Keir Starmer, running up to your appointment, running up to you appointing Epstein as ambassador to the US. We want to know exactly who told you what and when. Because how could you not know? Yesterday I had a quick look into it. I remember I mentioned yesterday, didn't I, that Mandelson had been fired from government a couple of times before. I quickly recapped exactly what that was. In 1998, so only 1 year into the Blair government, he was in government straight away. As soon as Blair got in 1997, he picks Mandy because he's Bezzy mates. Blair and Mandy were Bezzy mates from way, way, way back when. Some people say Mandelson was sort of the architect, or one of the principal architects of the 1997 landslide victory for Tony Blair. So he's in government straight away. And by 1998, Tony Blair had to fire him. So within a year, basically, or so. Sort of straight away, sort of. And it was no sort of sex scandal or anything like that. It was to do with sort of his association with other disgraced businessmen. And then, but quite quickly, what was it, within a year or two, within 18 months of that, like it had died down a bit in the papers. And Blair brought him back. They sometimes do that, don't they? Like how Keir Starmer's probably, or is bringing back Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner was disgraced for some sort of, again, relatively minor, not all that minor, but, you know, not a giant scandal, but to do with her taxes and her properties and things. The pressure was enough for Starmer to fire her, but he'll bring her back because it's not sort of so disgraceful. Anyway, playing that game. Anyway, Blair brings Mandelson back. But then by 2001, we had to fire him again for another scandal. Again, to do with business and money a bit. And not such a terrible scandal that it's like a prison thing or that you could never ever come back into frontline politics again. But just another scandal worthy of being removed from cabinet. So, and loads of, and everyone in the know knew that to some extent Epstein and Mandelson were friends. I think, well, I certainly didn't know. Most normal people wouldn't have known how close they were. I remember as soon as, before Epstein went to jail the last time, when he died in jail, before he went to jail, already then it was known, like publicly, openly, someone just like me, a normal person that reads the papers and stuff and keeps up with things, but doesn't have any true insight into who Peter Mandelson does or doesn't know. At that point, we knew he was friends, quite close friends with Epstein. There was pictures of him on with Epstein at various times. So in other words, when Starmer picked him in 2024, or was it 2025? It was well known that Mandelson was a friend, very, very close or otherwise, of Epstein. So it really is quite bad of Starmer to have picked him. But Starmer calls Mandelson's actions disgraceful. Your actions are disgraceful. Your actions are disgraceful. Are you mad? Were you mad? But then I think, as I said yesterday, he's in part of the whole structure. He's part of the whole thing, isn't he? Really must be. Because he's not a complete fool, Starmer. Pretty foolish. But he's not, he's not a complete fool. So he must have known. What sort of pressure was put on him? What sort of pressure could have been put on him to pick Mandelson at that moment in time? Don't know, do we? That's what we want to find out, really. All right. Yeah, we'll see a bit later that that Kemi and the Conservatives are probably going to push really hard, and even disgruntled Labour MPs will get on board with that. Because there's a few people that are Labour MPs, but hate Starmer, though, still. Their own leader. Okay. Walmart joins tech giants Select Club as market value passes $1 trillion milestone. $1 trillion. Yeah. Yeah, Walmart's giant. Walmart's absolutely giant. The people that are heirs to the Walmart fortune, just family, isn't it? It's family-owned, run thing still, I believe. They're fantastically rich, aren't they? Fantastically rich. Okay, the Times, the venerable Times. Mandelson facing full criminal investigation. Appear to exit Lords amid claims of leaks to Epstein. Gordon Brown condemns unpatriotic act. Yeah, Gordon Brown. Yeah, exactly that. Says it's unpatriotic. Well, it is, really. If you're in government, if you're in cabinet, you've got to be loyal to the country that you're governing. Isn't that the absolute bare minimum? Could you ask for any less than that? All right, there's a smiling Mandy getting some new socks put on by a woman. I mean, he's gay. He's famously gay. So I don't think there's any allegations like he went to the island and sexually assaulted loads of 14-year-old girls or anything like that. Not Mandy. That's not his bag. But anyway, let's move on. The Metro. Oh. Metro, sickening the Metro that it exists. Mandelson goes as Epstein crisis grows. There he is, look, Mandelson and Sir Queer laughing it up. They're having a good time. There he is in his pants again. Don't worry about who Epstein really was and what he was doing for Ehud Barak, and don't worry about that. Just look at Mandy in his pants. Oh Lord! Wonder how long it took him to come up with that one. Got a team of wordsmiths working around the clock on that one, Metro. Oh Lord. Met begins criminal investigation into Peer. I'll bring law to remove his title, PM warns. Yeah, do it then. Get on with it then. But Labour grandee quits upper house first. Pardon me. Starmer under pressure for giving him job. Yeah. The Independent, that they've gone, you know a paper's serious. You know they're serious when they do like a full page, front page image like this. PM, he let his country down. You know they're serious when they do that. Or when they're super, super serious. When they do black lettering. Like when there's been some massacre or something. They didn't quite go with the black lettering today. But they've gone with the full... It's a sacrificial lamb, isn't it? It's sort of a sacrificial lamb. Look at this sacrificial lamb rather than concentrating on what really matters in the whole Epstein thing. I didn't see the name Ehud Barak once on the front pages, or Mossad, or Rothschild, or anything. Or Goyim. Instead, they tell us, Mandelson quits Lords as government begins move to strip him of title. Police launch criminal investigation into his... Okay, we get it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing on every paper. Should we just whip through it? The I paper. Police investigate Mandelson after number 10 hands out. Yeah. Okay, got it, yeah. The Telegraph, same thing. Brown accuses number 10 of cover-up. Okay, there's a slight little bit of thinking. Brown accuses number 10 of cover-up, says this headline. Former PM goes to war with government over Mandelson's leaked emails to Epstein. But further down, it says that that's not fair. Gordon Brown's not doing that. He's not going to war with the Cabinet Office or anything. Why are you reporting that? Like the BBC's own blurb says, the Daily Telegraph's headline saying the former MP is in no way seeks to accuse number 10 of a cover-up. So maybe a little bit of inaccurate reporting from the Telegraph. They're just exaggerating what Gordon Brown is actually doing and saying. But nonetheless, Gordon Brown is still absolutely livid, as he should be. Get Gordon gone. Epstein and Mandelson's plot to oust the Prime Minister. I don't think there was... We'll see about that. I'll wait a day or two, see what emerges on that, whether they were actually plotting in any real way. I scanned that article and it didn't really have any proper detail about like a plot, like a coup d'etat. No, Brown lost the election, but we'll see if any more comes out on that. We'll see. The Mirror, something about Letby. There was Letby a little bit later in saying that even one of the I think it was one of the doctors who gave loads of testimony in her trial. Even he now apparently is coming out and saying, I don't feel good about that. I'm not sure now. Or I was entirely sure. I don't sleep well at night. I feel guilty about all of that. Increasing questions over Letby. Can't bring myself to be all that interested in it though, ultimately. Anger at Mandelson grows. Inexcusable. You get it. On and on. You get it. The Daily Mail. Yeah, Fergie. A little bit of Fergie. In case Mandelson's not salacious enough. Also, Andrew and Fergie. The Met sensationally launches criminal probe. Do they? They sensationally do it. They do it with jazz hands. What do you mean? Sensationally. Kemi piles pressure on PM. Evidence that damns Labour's Dark Lord. Okay, The Guardian. The Guardian. Met investigation into Mandelson over alleged Epstein email leaks. There you go. There's them getting fitted for some suits. There you go. Look at that. police to review fresh claims against Andrew. So yeah, that's the thing, that the police looks like they're probably likely to actually open an investigation into Andrew, at least over this new woman, perhaps not over Virginia Guthrie, the late Virginia Guthrie, but over the other woman or women that he may have had trafficked to him, allegedly. Yeah, good. That would be interesting. That would be funny if Andrew was actually in the dock. Okay, the Sun. Disgrace, yeah. Look, they've got the background of a moon there, because shamed Andy was booted out of Royal Lodge in the dead of night. Shamed Mandy has to quit Lords. Andy and Mandy. Flower pot men. I just said that. I wonder if they'll do that one day. Andy and Mandy. The flower pot men, that's the old school. There's no way Harry's going to get that reference. No way. Even people my age probably won't get that reference. Older folks, there you go. You can have that one for free. The Princes of Darkness. The Daily Express. Oh, it's a good paper. Edwards, that's Prince Edward. Edward's call to, quote, remember victims of evil Epstein. Yeah, so the first member of the royal family speaks out after Andrew features in released files. If anyone doesn't know, this chap there, that's Andrew. You'll recognise Andrew, don't you? You know Andrew. That's Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh. His younger brother, so the King's younger brother. There's three boys, Charles, Andrew and Eddie, little Eddie, the runt of the litter. Yeah, so he's the King's brother, the Queen's son, the Queen's youngest son. And he was the first one to break his silence about Big Bro. Yeah, and he's just saying, remember the victims, remember the victims. Yeah, all right. All right, pipe down. All right, have we got a poll? We have got a poll. What was the poll today, Harry? Bring it up on my screen, make it so. Engage. Okay. Should Mandelson face criminal charges? A cool 93% of you say yes. 2% of you say no. 5% say maybe. At least it adds up to 100% this time, today. So yeah, again, it's almost unanimous, isn't it? Almost 93%. That's sort of a stonking majority, isn't it? Yeah. If everything that's come out in this DOJ dump is true, just to be on the safe side, I've still got to say that. If it is true, then he's definitely done. It seems like he's definitely done criminal things. The misconduct has risen to a level of criminality, and really bad, isn't it? I mean, I said it all yesterday, so I'll move on now. But it's not just a little bit scummy or a little bit frustrating and annoying. It's full blown. You sold the country out. Isn't it? You sold the country out. For what? For 55 grand? Or something. So so your gay husband could get 4 grand a month. Was it worth it, Mandy? Was it worth it? Were all the connections and things you got from being, quote unquote, friends or with Epstein, was it worth it? Okay, let's have a look at the websites. Right, so the BBC. Yeah, there's the Royal Lodge. It's a bit more than a lodge, isn't it? Yeah, to sort of... someone got on the blower to him in the middle of the night. You're out now. Get out now. We don't want paparazzi with sort of telephoto lenses to be able to take any more pictures of you. So get out of there. We'll put you somewhere else. As they said, somewhere in Norfolk. Somewhere completely out of the way. Right there you can just see Mandelson story. Nigel Farage, a little story here about Nigel. He did an interview with Laura Königsberg. One of the absolute worst BBC shills. Like a hand-picked shill. Laura Königsberg. She's exactly what's wrong with journalism and the BBC. Someone like her. Anyway, Nige agreed to an interview with them. I wouldn't. If I was head of Reform or head of any party, I would very, 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 very rarely speak to the corporate mainstream media at all. And if I did, it would be entirely on my terms. No, I'd have my own website, my own show, something like this, whatever, my own setup. And I would talk directly to people, talk directly to the internet, talk directly to the world. I don't need Laura Koenigsberg, I don't need Robert Peston to badger me in an interview. Don't need it, don't want you, don't need you. Your whole thing is dying. Yeah, Nige is still always a little bit behind the curve, isn't he? So he did an interview with Laura Koenigsberg, and she's doing her classic badgering thing. Like she's an inquisitor. Like it's gross. Anyway, they're badgering him all about all those allegations that he was racist in the 70s to his schoolmates. That he said relatively minor racist things to other kids, like Jewish kids or brown kids in the 70s at an all-boys school when he was like 14 or something. One, it's almost certainly just a smear, made up nonsense, although there may well be a kernel of truth in it. People used to be much, much more like that. And even if there is, so what? It's not a big deal. Most Reform followers, and certainly anyone to the right, if anything, they give kudos to Nigel. It's funny, some of the things he's supposed to have said. It's just stupid and funny. No one cares. Hardly anyone cares. If you already hate Farage, if you've already got Farage derangement syndrome, then you're going to cling to that. He was racist. He was racist in the 70s. You'll cling to that forever, because it's kind of all they've got. It's the very, very bottom of the barrel. It's the last remnants of sludge at the bottom of the barrel that they're trying to scrape out against him. So most people don't care, even find it funny, even think a little bit more of Nigel, if anything. And all the others on the left will just cling to that forever. Nigel actually was quite unrepentant. He goes, he shouldn't even have said this, in my opinion. But he said, I didn't ever mean to hurt anyone, and if I did, well, that's a shame. But, so, basically, meh. But yeah, Laura Koenigsberg and the BBC just refusing to let it go. It's not sticking. It hasn't shown up in the polls that loads of normie Reform supporters have all deserted Nigel and the Reform cause because of it. I think when it first broke, or the second time they tried to make it a big story, the Reform polls went up a little bit. So no one cares, right? No one really cares, unless you're suffering from Nige derangement syndrome. Okay, rent controls. Yeah, the government hate people that own properties and rent them out to other people. Story there about the Colombian war on drugs. Interesting though, actually, in the news cycle this morning, we might see it when we get to the American papers, a bit about Colombia. That Colombia and the Colombian president was relatively high up on Trump's list of Maduro type targets. Like he's made all sorts of noises about Cuba and Colombia. Not exactly saying it or exactly threatening it, but if you don't start doing as you're told and get in line and playing and dancing to our tune, you might get Maduro'd. But today, in fact, let's see if I could quickly just cut to it. It was in one of the New York papers. I can't remember if it was the Times or the Washington Post, but it was saying that Trump was now praising the Colombian president because the Colombian president seems to have fallen in line in some sense, in some ways. See if I can quickly find it. I don't want to waste too much time if I can't. No, sorry. But all right, Trump seems to have thawed on the Colombia guy because he seems to have started falling in line with what they want. That's the thing with Trump, isn't it? I mean, it's a relatively straightforward guy. What you see is what you get mostly. He's not like a complete... he's not like... I don't think Trump does particularly play 4D chess. It's like, if you do what he wants and you're nice to him, he'll be nice back. And if you're a dick to him and talk trash about him all the time, he's a dick back to you. It's pretty straightforward stuff, isn't it? Again, like a New York real estate chap. That's what Trump is. That's who Trump is. Relatively straightforward. I don't know how people don't get it by now. Okay. Colombia stuff. Police told to reinvestigate man's death after suspected blackmail on Grindr. Don't care. Court system on brink of collapse, former senior judge warns. Well, yeah, if you import millions of people over just a few years and the criminality amongst those people per capita is gigantic, then yeah, you're going to have your prisons filled up and a court system on the brink of collapse, yeah. They won't talk about that, will they? If you import hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the space of just a few years, there'll be loads and loads of pressure on jobs, on wages, on housing, on the NHS, on dentists, on everything, on the court system, because they commit crimes massively more so per capita. Per capita, or Politics Joe or anyone, you're watching this, the guys at Hope Not Hate, per capita, you know what that means, don't you? You're going to pretend you don't know what that means. You're going to pretend that you don't know that Afghans per capita, for example, Syrians, Albanians, Nigerians, Somalis, Pakistanis, don't commit way more crime per capita. Yeah, so our court system is on brink of collapse. Brilliant, great. Thanks Blair, thanks Brown, thanks Boris, thanks Cameron, thanks May. Cheers for that. Cheers Rishi. Thought he was going to stop the boats, Rishi. Nope. All right. Let's have a look at something else. There was one Andrew there, looking pensive. There was one story on ITV I thought was interesting, if I can find it real quick. Oh no, sorry, there's one other news story on the BBC that's quite a ways down. Let's keep scrolling. Quite a ways down this story. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling, and there we go. US says it shot down Iranian drone flying towards aircraft carrier. Now, if anyone's old enough to remember various wars, conflicts that the United States gets involved in, very often the actual hot war starts with something a bit like this. Very often. America moves assets into the region and then claim, whether truthfully or not, far be it from me to suggest it's not completely truthful. Then they get attacked by something, and then the United States have got a casus belli, a reason for war. They say, you struck us first, it's on. So, a little bit worrying. And when you're used to it, when you've seen it enough times... Let's read a little bit from this, actually. US says it shot down Iranian drone flying towards aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. The drone was, quote, aggressively, quote, approaching the USS Abraham Lincoln, a spokesman said. Again, it was buried so far down, and it's not on the front pages or high on the websites of any of the other news things, so they're not running with the story. It's not like high alert. It's war. It's war in the next 5 minutes. Shock and awe. Waiting for shock and awe in the next 2 minutes. It's not quite that yet, but let's read this. An Iranian drone was shot down as it, quote, aggressively approached, quote, an American aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea on Tuesday. A US military spokesperson has said. An F-35 stealth fighter jet, which took off from the USS Abraham Lincoln warship, shot down the drone, quote, in self-defense. So Iran has thrown the first blow. It's in self-defense. To protect the aircraft carrier and its personnel, US Central Command spokesman Captain Tim Hawkins said. The ship was approximately 500 miles from the Iranian coast. Not that close, really. I mean, it's in the region, but it's not that close, 500 miles. Anyway, when the drone approached it with, quote, unclear intent, quote. No US equipment was damaged and no service personnel members were harmed. It comes as the US continues to build up a military presence in the region, with tensions higher between Washington and Tehran. US President Donald Trump has threatened to take military action against Iran if it does not negotiate an agreement to restrict its nuclear program. And it goes on and on, just to give you a little bit of backstory there about everything that's been going on over the last few weeks. But there you go. This is sort of thing how it starts. It is sort of exactly how it starts. Be warned. When the protest first started happening, it was like in the new year, wasn't it? Sort of straight after the new year, at the beginning of January, whenever it was. And people were saying, America might strike Iran like any moment. Again, it could be any moment, like a shock and awe thing. It might be in the next hour or something. Tomahawks are raining down on the centre of Tehran. At that point, I was thinking, no, it's unlikely. It's not usually how it goes. You never know. But that's not usually how it goes. This is how it goes. Though. Moving a carrier group to just off the shore of the country in question. And then having sort of mid-air incidents. That is how it goes. So, all right, let's have a look. Sky News. Just Mandy and Andrew. More Mandy and Andrew, of course. Make sure you concentrate on Mandy and Andrew and nothing else about Epstein. Be a good goyim. Don't notice. Okay. Daily Mail. Stripper demanded $500,000 after she performed sex acts on Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Stripper and the Duke. There you go. An exotic dancer demanded $250,000 from Jeffrey Epstein, claiming she performed, quote, various sex acts, quote, on the disgraced financier and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Legal documents show the unnamed woman claims to have been chauffeured to a 2006 party at Epstein's Palm Beach home, where she said she danced for the men before they asked her for a threesome. Gross. The shocking claim has been unearthed by the Mail in a tranche of more than 3.5 million Epstein-related documents released by the US Department of Justice. Okay, one thing I will say is that 3.5 million documents is gigantic. The fact that people are still finding, even professional journalists, where it's their job to sit down hour after hour after hour, day after day, and trawling through it, reading it. And you've got all sorts of AI tools to help you as well. Even so, 3.5 million is a gigantic amount. The word million gets thrown around all the time. A million is a gigantic number in reality, a gigantic number. So it's no wonder to me that there's people still finding, we found a new thing in it. Yeah, probably. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's weeks, really. Maybe even a matter of weeks before it's all basically been trawled through with a fine-tooth comb. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. All right, here's a little story that seems to be cropping up in the papers. This kid here, see this kid here? He's a bally hero. And I'm not, that sounds sarcastic. I'm not being sarcastic. He's a hero kid. So this family, this mum, perhaps unwisely, went out in Australia, went out on kayaks. Not just a wholesome thing to do with your family, right? But the winds and tides and currents took them out to sea. And they was in danger of being lost at sea. So she sent her oldest son, he's only 13, she said, try and swim back to shore to get help, because otherwise we're going to be lost at sea and we'll all die at sea. And this kid, this 13-year-old, he only bloody did it. 4 hours he was swimming. Don't know if they were shark-infested waters, they might have been, but anyway, even if they weren't, he only bloody did it. Raised the alarm. They all were saved. Well done, lad. Well done. Brilliant. Good for you. Amazing. And the mum saying, I do sympathise with her. She said, house-stranded mum made the life or death decision to send her 13-year-old son into rough seas to swim 4 hours to save their family. Yeah, I mean, it was unwise to go out at all. It's easy to say in hindsight, though, isn't it? She obviously didn't plan for this to happen, of course. But yeah, what a horrible decision. Like, Because she could well be sending him to his death. He could well have drowned or just not made it, or being eaten by a shark or whatever, who knows. Or just never returned. But everyone, it worked out well. He saved them all. Well done, son. Good on you. Brilliant. Lovely little white pill story there. Okay, The Express. More on Fergie. Disgusting Fergie. The original Sloane Ranger. Anyone knows what I'm talking about there? The Sloane Rangers. Sloane Square. Posh women. Posh gold digging women. Sloane Rangers. She's the queen of the Sloane Rangers. And now disgraced. Eddie breaking silence there. Okay, more of the same. Meghan Markle. Just 2 seconds on complete slop. Meghan Markle urges Brooklyn Beckham to follow in her footsteps with major power move. Don't take any advice from Meghan Markle. Don't listen to Meghan Markle about anything ever, in fact. She's a completely vacuous nothing. The Sun, there you got an aerial view of the lodge, the Royal Lodge. Final exile. Just have a quick look at just the degree of slop in the Sun. So Andrew's exile. Brooklyn Beckham's wife's dad, who's a billionaire in his own right. Letby guy. In fact, that was what I was saying. Did we get the wrong person? Doc who helped convict Lucy Letby reveals doubt over evidence and says, I live with guilt. Do you? Don't give evidence in a murder trial if you're not sure. That's my advice. To anyone out there. Oh yeah, Kim Kardashian. Watch out. They're slinging shade at Sir Lewis. Watch out. Nicole Scherzinger, who was with Lewis Hamilton for years, her pals fear for Kim K as they warn of Lewis Hamilton's nasty streak and his other women. There you go, pure slop. I mean, he's known as a bit of a womanizer. I don't know if he's a cheater. I'm not saying that, but he does love the women's, as far as I understand. Nasty streak. I don't know about that. I've never really heard about that. From everything I know, I watch Formula One. I follow Formula One. Always have. Watched many, probably hours worth of Hamilton in interview one way or another without even trying, post-race interviews and everything. He always comes across as very, very relaxed and quite pleasant in nearly all his interactions with people. Even when he's really upset and gutted about some race or other. It's always relatively pleasant. But who knows? Who knows? Behind closed doors, he might have a nasty streak. I've never gotten that from him. I don't like Lewis Hamilton. He's anti-white. He's unbelievably woke. I don't like him. Yet he has always seemed to come across as, not particularly nasty. But anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Who cares? Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian. All right, a death pit. Viking-era execution pit full of bodies, including Extreme Giant found in the UK. Shut up, Extreme Giant. Shut up. Okay, let's hop across the pond to the New York Slimes. Oh, we've only got about 10 minutes left or so. Give you a few more minutes today because we didn't start till, 2 minutes past. So I want to give you the full hour or more. All right, in the Slimes. Yep, Hillary and Bill. There. Clinton's asked to testify publicly in House Epstein inquiry. Yeah, that's yesterday's news. Get with it, New York Slimes. Come on. Do better. But yeah, when they testify, I'll be all over that. It'll be fascinating. Okay, the Washington Post. Citizens describe assaults and shootings by ICE at Capitol Hill hearings. Don't try and stop ICE from doing their job. You won't get shot. They won't beat you up if you don't get in their way. Pretty straightforward. Over to the Aussies. How good. Third world conditions. Allen government under pressure over disastrous outage on brand new metro. Yeah, they got like a brand new metro line or station or something or other, and it didn't work perfectly on day one. There you go. Quickly over to Nippon, Japan. Funny, I always like looking at the Japan stuff. For some reason, their slop I find endearing rather than annoying. I don't know why. They're talking about ravioli. Ravioli with red beets. What else do they have? K-pop Demon Hunters. K-pop demon hunters. It's big stuff, interesting stuff, important stuff. And it's a bit snowy in certain places in Japan. There you go. A thing about Singapore, which isn't of any real interest. Oh, the guy, the Abe murderer, assassin, who was sentenced to life in prison. He has appealed it. All right. China, Xinhua, the Xinhua network. Same as most days. Xi calls for cooperation with Uruguay in multiple areas. China outlines plans for agricultural modernisation, rural revitalisation. Yeah, China got a terrible history with agricultural modernisation. Xi and the current CCP probably don't want anyone to remember their previous attempts to make a great leap forward. Millions and millions, tens of millions of people starved to death because the CCP are morons. On my own history channel, History Bro, check that out. I've got an 18-part series on Chairman Mao, and it concentrates largely, as much as possible, on the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward. When Mao decided they were going to modernise agriculture and collectivise people into collective farms, net result was tens of millions of people starving to death. Because communism doesn't really work. It's a backward, retarded way of running a society. Okay, the Ruskies. Over 10,000 weapons enter into service with Russian army in January, says their defence chief. All right. Abu Dhabi to host new round of consultations on Ukraine. Yep. US agrees to negotiate with Iran in Oman. Talks possibly due on February the 6th, which would be, Friday? Yeah, so just real quick to say on that. There's going to be a summit between Iran and the US with that Stephen Witkoff geezer and loads of other countries all in the region. I don't know, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, maybe, I don't know. You know, all the big players in and around. And Iran said, no, we just want to sit down with the US in Oman. We just want to do that. I feel like Iran, for all its blustering, you know, it doesn't want to get absolutely smashed to bits by dozens or hundreds of fast jet sorties and dozens or hundreds of cruise missiles. It doesn't want that, does it? And so they want to sit down and have a talk about it. Whether they can avoid it at this stage, they probably could. If they just completely capitulated to Trump. Whatever Trump said, and Hegseth, whatever the Pentagon and the State Department said, do this, do that, stop doing that, let us in to see you stop doing that. If they did everything they were told, I imagine they could avert it. But whether they will, I don't know. Whether the Ayatollah politically can, I don't know. We shall see. The Iran story is going somewhere in the next few days, a week or two. Mark my words on that. It's not just going to peter out and be nothing again. I don't think. Not this time. Or at least that's what it looks like on the morning of the 4th of February. With drones, Iranian drones being shot out of the skies above a US carrier group in the region. Okay, Bild. The Germans. What are the Germans talking about this morning? A motor car crash. They're always talking about car crashes, aren't they? Bild. Always. Every day. This guy tried to cross a level crossing and got smashed by a train. There you go. Always with the car crashes. It's just very slop. Very much slop in Bild. As per most days. The French Le Monde. To give Le Monde the credit, although being sort of woke globalists and, you know, a despicable organ, like nearly all of them, as far as I'm concerned, they do actually usually go with slightly more highbrow, slightly more interest, certainly compared to Bild. Bild is the equivalent of like the Sun or the Star or something, isn't it? But Le Monde fancies itself a bit more like the Telegraph or the Times, doesn't it? They go, between Putin and Trump, a similarity born of hatred, contempt and revisionism. Calm down. Calm down. They say, both ideologically and in the methods they use to achieve their goals, the Russian and the American presidents display common traits that are cause for grave concern for democracy across the Atlantic. Yeah, they're going to do what they want, right? They know the limits of their own strength and power. Igor Kostyukov, the top Russian spy sent to negotiate with the Ukrainians in Abu Dhabi. Trump and Putin share a common enemy, liberal Europe. Yeah, kinda. But they have two divergent strategic projects. Yeah, because liberal Europe is insane and committing some sort of demographic suicide. Yeah. Le Monde. All right, let's have a quick look at space news, because we're very close to the top of the hour. So yeah, Artemis 2. Yay, this is my thing, this is my bag, I love it. Artemis 2, that's the rocket. It's a full-blown NASA mission. Proper old-school NASA mission. Artemis 2. It's going to send people back to the moon, not to actually land on it yet, but to fly to the moon, slingshot round it and come back. Like Apollo 9, or 10, was it? Brilliant. Hopefully they can really show that it's real and that it's happening. Like it's not just a fake thing. I really hope they can sort of show it beyond any question of a doubt. So it was meant to launch. It takes days, even weeks, to get the rocket ready for launch. So it's already happening, and it was supposed to launch later this month. But there were some slight problems, so it's not going to launch till next month now. There you go. NASA examining hydrogen leaks during Artemis 2 fueling test. NASA officials defended their preparations for the Artemis 2 mission after a fueling test experienced the same type of hydrogen leaks that bedeviled Artemis 1 more than 3 years ago. Yeah, so obviously everything has to be absolutely perfect. So they've pushed the launch back till March now. But there you go. Soon, within a few weeks, human beings will be slingshotting around the moon. If you believe it. There you go. SpaceX pauses Falcon 9 launches after upper stage anomaly. Another lovely picture there of Artemis. Artemis 2 slips to March. Okay. Alright, let's have a quick look on this day in history. I enjoyed that. You guys seem to as well. All right then, so on this day in history, the 4th of February, what have we got? In the year 211 AD, Roman Emperor Septimius Severus dies in York, Eboracum. The Latin Roman word for York was Eboracum. He dies there, of natural causes, leaving the Roman Empire in the hands of his two quarrelsome sons, Caracalla and Gettr. Yeah, Caracalla goes on to kill his own brother. They really hated each other. Sometimes brothers get on really well. I think of maybe the Lion's Brood, Hannibal, or I think of Henry V and all his brothers. There's quite a few examples of when brothers can just get on and let like the eldest one rule or the chosen one rule, and the others fall in line. But often it's not the case. Often the fate of extra princes is an early grave. Anyway, that was the case with Gettr, and Caracalla is known as one of the worst, sort of most evil, sadistic emperors of all time. He's up there with Nero, Caligula, Elagabalus, Domitian. He's in that bracket of sort of really properly serial killer level, insane, sadistic emperors. Caracalla. All right. Okay. In the year 960, the coronation of Zhao Qingyin, probably butchering that pronunciation, as Emperor Tiezu of the Song, initiates 3 centuries of Song dynasty dominance in southern China. So yeah, that's the Song dynasty. One of the more important ones, long-lived ones. On this day, in the year 1789. The first US Electoral College chooses George Washington as president and John Adams as vice president. Yeah, it's a slam dunk for George Washington, really, because he'd been commander of the armies, General Washington, had basically won the War of Independence. The way it worked back in those days is that you were sort of, if you wanted the top job, it could be yours. And George Washington acquiesced. Okay, George Washington. In 1859, one of the oldest known copies of the Bible, the Sinai Bible, is seen in Egypt and taken out of Egypt. There you go. In 1865, Robert E. Lee is named General-in-Chief of Confederate Forces right at the end. That's right at the very end of the Civil War, isn't it? In 1969, the Palestine National Congress appoints Yasser Arafat chairman of the PLO. Yasser Arafat. What a wrong turn that was, probably. Didn't work out all that well, did it really? Okay, in 1988, Panamanian General Noriega is indicted by a US federal grand jury for drug trafficking and racketeering. Yeah, they finally got him, didn't they? They ended up invading Panama and taking Noriega back to the US, Maduro style, and whacking him in prison forever. Is he still alive? I think he might be still alive. Very, very old man, still in prison to this day. Even if he has died of natural causes, he never got out of prison. Put him in prison forever. Okay, on this day, in 2004, Mark Zuckerberg launches Facebook from his Harvard dormitory room. Brilliant. Well done, Zuck. Brilliant. All right, so let's have a quick look at the Rumble Rants and Super Chats. The Rumble Rants, Rick TWGP says, I'm going to get in a spot of bother going on site 2 hours plus every day. Beau, you're a bad influence. No, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a member of the glorious band, The Chosen Few. Appreciate it. Okay, who else we've got? TomRat247 says, who is John Pond? I don't know who John Pond is. Sorry, I don't know what you're saying there. Did I mispronounce someone's name or something? John Pond? I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what you mean. Apologies. Kalergi says, Andy and Mandy, sitcom when? Chat is thinking Stella Street's Mick and Keith. Yeah, that'd be funny. Mick and Keith. Stella Street was quite funny. Mick and Keith. In like a corner shop. But the Flowerpot boys, Flowerpot men, are exiled to a small cottage together where the establishment can pretend they no longer exist. Yeah. The establishment would love it if Andy and Mandy retired to a tiny little cottage in the middle of nowhere and were never heard from again. That's what they would like. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, then the YouTube Super Chats. Luke Stewart 6155 says, do you think Queer Starmer gonna make it by the end of the year? Or do you think he's going to get backstabbed and you guys could have an election? Who knows? I would say, if I've got to make a prediction, it's famously not a good idea to make a prediction because they're more often than not wrong, no matter how good you are. And then it just looks bad. But I'll give you a couple of predictions. I don't think there'll be an early general election. Because even if the Labour Party internally cooed Keir Starmer, they're not then obliged to have a general election. Whoever took over from him, whoever it would be, doesn't have to call a general election and almost certainly wouldn't because Labour are so low in the polls. So I don't think we're going to get an early general election, or not really early, not this year. But whether Keir Starmer himself will last to the end of the year, I don't know. A lot of people are saying, and I don't find this crazy, that after the May local elections, where Labour are sure to do poorly, or maybe even after the by-election in Manchester, that if Labour lose that, I think they might scrape it actually, but if they lose that, either then or in May, then there might be all sorts of internal plays to get rid of Starmer and replace him with someone else. So I think it hangs in the balance whether Sir Queer will remain as Prime Minister for all that much longer. I put it at maybe 50-50, maybe a bit better, maybe 60-70% he'll still be Prime Minister, but a good solid 30-40%, maybe as high as 50% that he isn't by the end of this year or by summer this year. But I don't see there being an early general election. I put the chance of that as much, much lower. But who knows, it could happen. I was wrong about Mandy renouncing his peerage yesterday, wasn't I? You know, so there you go. All right. Matthew Hammond 9575 says, Beau's Breakfast Club is my favourite. BBC, yeah. Yeah. It's the best. It's the best around. Thanks to you guys. Boom. Okay. Luke Stewart 6155 again says, G'day, I recommend you check out Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur. He does a bit of philosophy on living in space, not just the science involved. Yeah, I know Isaac Arthur. I watch Isaac Arthur. For anyone who doesn't know, he's just a space and science YouTuber. He's got quite a funny speech impediment. He sounds like Elmer Fudd. But he takes the mickey out of himself for it all the time. I think even sometimes his little avatar thing is Elmer Fudd. I'm not just completely having a pop at him. He leans into it. He's got a bit of a funny voice. But he's great. He's great on science and space and everything. Yeah, love the guy. Yeah, I watch Isaac Arthur. I already do. So, but thanks for the recommendation. He's one of the good ones. Okay, Principled Uncertainty says, the mainstream media bravely figures onto the throwing two already disgraced figures onto the Epstein empire in a distraction from the main story. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening, isn't it? Principled Uncertainty. Yeah. Perfect take. Yeah, they're sacrificial lambs that are already completely sort of disgraced. They're not only sacrificial lambs to distract you, but they're quite easy sacrificial lambs as well, aren't they? Yeah, you're right. All right, that's the show. It is now 8 minutes past 9 in the AM, Greenwich Mean Time, on Wednesday the 4th of February in the year of our Lord 2026. You have been watching The Beau Show. Thank you. You are the glorious man chosen for you. Thank you. Try and make the best of the day ahead if you can. Seize it by the lapels and make it count. Carpe diem. Seize the day. I know it's not always easy, but if you can, do. Well then, until tomorrow, take care.